Hey, you're listening to For All Nerds, and on this episode, we talk about Mickey 17 and why it's a poor man's Starship Troopers.
And what's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the For All Nerds Show. It's your boy, DJ Benhameen, aka Master Splinter Cell, Trinidad Bane. Keep that same energy on when you see me. Arsenio Holiday, the Kevin Bacon of the internet's Wakanda's favorite DJ, Bobby Filet, here in the spaceship tonight. And as always, I'm joined by
Tatiana King, the Grand Duchess of Tech, also known as the Lord of Lightsabers. Tatiana the King Slater, the King of the North. Scroll Obsidian, Tatiana Kang the Conqueror, and Gucci Mandalorian.
There we go. And we're back. It's For All Nerds Show, the voice of the urban geek, the show you know and love. Thank you all for joining us yet again for another week. We're back. I know you've been loving all the Daredevil reviews that we've been dropping every week. All of these amazing interviews we've been rolling out. Let's see, we had Jeff Trammell on the spaceship to talk about Spider-Man. And we had Kieran Gillen to talk about the power fantasy and, the heat praises on your boy, Big applause for that real quick. Thank you very much. Thank you. We got another interview dropping next week as well. Big things coming from the creators of Big Jim and the White Boy.
Yeah.
I just love saying that title every time. Every time. Yeah, so that'll be dropping next week. So thank you to everyone. Please, this means the world to us. Hit that subscribe button that is sitting right below you right now as you're watching this on YouTube, on Twitch, wherever it is. If you're listening, hit that follow. Thank you so much to all the new subscribers, especially all of y'all on YouTube. Shout out to Pollux Troy, Mac Bricks, Jameson Childress, Don Joe, Gabriella King, Squad Player, Josh Brown, Young Juan 47, David Atkinson, Max Brooks Den. Big shouts and applause to all of y'all out there. Thank you. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it as of yet, and join us over here at the Fan Fam. It's For All Nerds Show. We back. We here to talk about some geek culture, everything that's been popping this week. We did get to see a movie last week that we need to discuss real quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
In theaters now. So, this is a pretty spoiler-filled review. I mean, we'll still stay away from most of it, but we're talking about Mickey 17, directed by
Bong Joon Ho.
There we go. Bong Joon Ho, the director of such great films as Parasite and Snowpiercer. The other one about the giant Acha. Yeah, I can never remember the damn name about the hippo.
Acha.
Hippo
Snowpiercer. And I love Parasite, love Snowpiercer, love Acha. And the man's an Academy Award winner. So
yeah. I went into this with high hopes. You I think weren't as interested in this one, I was.
You know what? When I first saw the previews for this last year, I was just like, something in my spirit said, I don't think this is for you. And which is, and I like, and this is a kind of sci-fi-ish and things like that. Like, it was just something about it that just threw me off. Maybe it's just the way Robert Pattinson looks in this, because he looks like a weirdo in this, and I don't know. And maybe I wasn't paying attention to see who directed it or whatever. It wasn't until after the fact that I realized it. So then I was just like, considering all the other body of works that were really good and I enjoyed, I said, okay, I probably need to take a look. I wonder if that was a mistake though.
Wow. Yeah, I went in wanting to see it because of everything you just said. The director, his previous works, the fact that it was sci-fi, the fact that it was Pattinson, who I think is a pretty good actor. Surprisingly, after his start, he's really turned into a really great actor. I'll say.
He's a good actor.
Yeah, I really don't care for his Batman, but that's beside the point. In general, I like him as an actor. And had a bunch of other people that I was interested in seeing. So I was going into this hype, and I thought the concept was ill. I was like, oh, okay, he dies again and again. He's in service of capitalism, etc. This, interesting, and it's a lot of the themes that Bond likes to tackle. As we've seen in Snowpiercer and Parasite, capitalism, and wealth discrepancies and things of that nature are things that he talks about a lot.
Yeah, but see, you don't learn about this movie being about wealth discrepancies and social economic and stuff until after you get into it. Like, maybe that's part of the reason why when I first saw it, like I saw the aspect of him dying over and over. But I've seen that. I've seen that concept done many different ways, and maybe that's why I wasn't initially with it. But then when you get into the movie, yes, they start bringing up all these other aspects, social, political, science, like all of that. Then I was like, okay, this is interesting. So at first, the movie had me. The movie had me in the first half. Not gonna lie.
It didn't have me. See, I knew that it was doing some of that because of the trailer, because I knew that he was doing it for work. So I knew that it was about capitalism. I knew nobody was going to take this job, just for, shits and giggles. So I knew that he was doing it because he had to do it. And so I figured it would get into the reasons behind that and
the character's a moron. The character, they telegraphed that from the beginning, that this character is more or less a moron. And whether you got to do it for work or not, I'm like, you're an idiot. So
yes,
I don't know.
That part is true. Yeah, it's something that I won't say has come up recently, but I feel like I've noticed it more when I've been watching films as of late. I can't remember the last film that made me feel this way, but as we're sitting in the theater 20 minutes into the film, I'm like, I don't ever want to see those first 20 minutes again. Like nothing happened in them that I need to ever see again. And that to me is not a good sign. Because then I start thinking about, okay, well, maybe there's something coming in this movie that I will want to see again that will make me interested in this movie. But when you're 20 minutes in and the first 20 minutes feel like a waste of your time or not a waste of my time, just like I'm just uninterested at that point. The film, nothing is appealing to me. Just that, like you said, there were some concepts and stuff that they discussed early for maybe the first 2 minutes that had me interested. I was like, okay, they're going to go there. But then within 20 minutes, I realized they weren't going to go there. There's going to be a lot of slapstick comedy, a lot of goofiness, a lot of silliness. I guess it's stuff that you see in Parasite and Snowpiercer and all of his films, but it's
not
one
like
of those.
This.
Yeah, not like this.
Not in the word in this word to switch.
Not like this.
It's one of those films.
Different.
It's one of those films where
not like this.
It's one of those films where you just like the worst of the director's impulses are on display.
Oh my goodness, that's a great. I'm gonna jump in now too, because that's actually a great expression of what's happened here. They let this nigga do whatever the fuck he wanted to do.
Yes,
and
this
is
his Phantom Menace.
And it shows, and not in a good way. So, unlike differently from Benhameen, I actually was enjoying the film at least for the first hour because it's 2 hours and change, which is
not like
an hour and change too long. It could have been an hour and it would have worked, and I would have walked away generally pleased or at least entertained. I thought the film was pretty funny. Yes, there's lots of slaps and stuff, but there's also and all the characters are all caricatures. Mark Ruffalo was chewing the goddamn scenery. Fucking
eating
loved it.
Alive.
Who was the lady who played
Toni Collette?
Toni Collette is so fucking funny. And you could tell that they was having a blast, like just being outrageous and out there as possible, right? Like, and like they played off of each other. They were foils. I mentioned Robert Pattinson's character, at least initially, he was an idiot. And just seeing him play that type of character where it's just like, I don't want to say lovable idiot. It's like, damn, you just down bad all the time because of your own devices, right? And it's like, you can't even be mad at the man. It's just like, you just have nothing else. And also, you just ain't got it. And also, Steven Yeun.
Yes.
He is amazing because his character is an asshole, to say the least. And he plays it so well. And like a lot of Steven Yeun generally, before at least Beef, he's known as having characters that people like. Typically, right? Even being the voice of Invincible, right? You're just like, oh, like you vibe with him. And this one, you're just like, I can't stand this guy. And that's what you're supposed to feel. So character-wise, generally it was cool, but it was like everyone was a character. Fine. Funny, cool. But then the movie kept going. And that's when Bong Joon lost the plot. And that's when I was just like, he's doing way too much. There was something, and again, and this is something I learned, this movie is based off of a book of the same name. And from what I read from the book author, and the book author was all like, go Bong Joon Ho. Like he was like, this is great. The author's book is a completely different tone and a few different things happening than what's happening into this movie. And I wish I read the book because there were some good concepts in the movie that I wish they went deeper into. You could have kept the comedy, but went deeper into the stuff that mattered. Instead of doing that, the movie just, oh my fucking God. It just sat and stewed and marinated in the silliness for 2 hours straight. And after a while, it became a waste of time. Like, I started to get angry after a while, like, bruh, like bored and angry. Like, why is this still happening? I mentioned, like I said, it was a very funny film. There was the sci-fi aspects were really well done, like the idea of there being copies, copies of humans, copies of people, how they become copies, why you would choose to be a copy. I remember social economic issues, right? The politics behind that, think about things when we talk about cloning, right? Like, remember all that stuff about them cloning the sheep? That was a problem, right? And all the stuff that goes behind the idea of cloning humans and that idea and all the issues that come along with it. That's interesting. That's great. Laws, all that. And then to just run it through that, I wish they stuck there. There's even a crime aspect to it where I'm like, that would have been fire if they stuck on that. But no, we just get what I ended up seeing as a parody of Starship Troopers.
Oh, I wouldn't even say that. I know what you mean. Like there's bits of Starship Troopers, but Starship Troopers is definitely just such a, parody.
You
is
just
like
don't want
pale
to sully.
imitation.
You just don't want to sully Starship Troopers. I'm still going to say what I said. It is a parody of Starship
I
Troopers.
say a pale imitation of Starship
It's not
Troopers.
even an imitation. Parody of. I don't think you listen to the words I'm saying.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Yeah, I get what you're saying now.
Parody
of
a work of art.
No, because I feel you. Because that's like, even as much as I enjoyed Ruffalo and Colette, they felt like I can't remember Shorty's name, but when Will Ferrell and Shorty used to be on there doing the cheerleaders together, like, it felt like an SNL skit. Like, it felt like they were in a whole different movie than everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just a ridiculous, SNL skit stretched out for 2 hours was their whole thing. And it was cute for the first 5 minutes, like most SNL skits. And then it was like, no, this is not working for 2 hours. I can't. And I think Colette and Ruffalo are amazing. And I felt like they were just wasted. I feel like Very Funny was doing a lot of work in your review. I'll give it like, it was cool. It had moments I chuckled. Don't get me wrong. I chuckled, and like you said, everything about the ideas that were abandoned were much better films. And during the film, and just now I was trying to remember, where have I seen this idea about cloning recently and having to wait for the clone to be dead and assure that. And I'm like, oh, damn it. They just did this in X-Men. Shout out to the Krakoa era. Like, that was one of the defining laws of their clones, is you had to make sure the other one was dead.
Yep.
Just in case, because of things of this nature that we see explored in this film.
And that's why I said I've seen this before, which is why initially I was like, I've read this, I've seen this concept before.
Definitely. It was more like that. I figured, just like, Parasite, I've seen, class struggle before, but I knew because of Parasite, he had a different take on it, and it was dope. And same with Snowpiercer. I've seen that type of film before as well, but I like Snowpiercer. This, I mean, that's all I can pretty much say, without getting into some spoiler stuff. And we reading reviews of this and of his other work. People just say in general that he can be very heavy-handed. And I guess I didn't get that from Parasite, especially because I thought Parasite had such ill, like, little film tricks, and the way it's shot, adding to storytelling, things of that nature. So I thought that was dope. I didn't feel any of that in this. I felt like this movie was well heavy-handed. I was telling Tatiana that there were several shots that he reused.
Oh, man.
Which to me is just like, oh my God, dog, you can't be spending millions on a movie and reuse shots. Give me a different damn angle at the very least.
Yeah. After you said that, I reran the movie visually in my head, and I was like, holy shit, that was the same shot over and over again.
And it's like, at least give me a different angle. If you're showing me the same action, give me a different view of it.
Show me a different point of view. And what you're saying is also going to be my last point about this film. Like, and it connects with the whole thing about it being too long. He's trying to hammer it into your head that this is a parable and a warning about the dangers of the cult personality. I get it, Bong Joon.
Bruh.
I don't think you realize that I get it. And I didn't need the extra time for you to make sure I understood. And there's even a point that a character suffers through. It's an incident that one character suffers through that I wanted to punch the fucking screen. Like, why would y'all do this? And why did you think this was okay?
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to give nothing away because I don't want to fuck up. But it deals with a person of color, and it made me mad.
It deals with a black person. Let's say it straight. And
it deals with a black person, and it made me mad.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was rewatching Andor last night, and once again, oh my god, it's one of the greatest television shows of all time. It's now free on Hulu, and the first 3 episodes are available on YouTube, so get on it.
Mhm.
But I was rewatching episode 6, The Eye, last night, and they used a person of color, a dark-skinned black man, in a scene, and it's obvious that they knew that they cast a dark-skinned black man in this scene, and that's why they were using him for this scene, and it's excellent work. And it says so much, and it's like, no, we need a dark-skinned black man for this scene to really hit the way it does, instead of what they did in Mickey 17.
Yeah.
Some hot mess with
Yeah.
a dark skin with a just with a
No,
black
just
woman.
with a black person.
Yeah, just disrespectful.
It was
Horrifically.
disrespectful.
Horrifically.
It was, and Ben had to mention, like, I mean, well before that point, but even especially at that point, Ben was talking about he was thinking about walking out.
Oh yeah, like I said,
it was again, level of comedy will be subjective, whether or not you thought that was funny. I did think, like, I was on the half of the audience that was pretty much laughing at
I was laughing
all
most
this
of
funny stuff.
Yeah.
But again, it was just, you said it was his Phantom Menace. It was just too much for too long. And it's just like, I got it. We got to wrap this shit up. I would grade it a C.
Me too. C-. And my final thought, just like you said, to wrap everything up, is like you said, it felt like a foreigner explaining America to me.
Yes,
Yeah, and that it's the same feeling that I felt when I read the American Gods book, by the author we shall not mention anymore. But that's the way even though I worked on the show, when I read the book, I was like, oh yeah, bro, I don't need you to tell me. I get it, and you really don't. And I don't think that he doesn't get it in the way that Bond, he gets it, but it's like he gets it, and then it's one of those things where he's explaining it you're singing to the choir, you're singing to the choir, and not only are you singing to the choir, when you make these artsy type movies, you're singing to a very small choir.
A very specific choir.
Who already heard the song a million times.
Who is there and at least from people like on your side of things are there for that express purpose. Yeah. They just want to see how you're going to do it differently.
Yeah, and you don't. So that's sorry. C-. Check it out if you feel like it. I'd wait for any streaming service on.
Yeah, I wouldn't say run to the theaters, and also just visually, this is not necessarily something that you got to be
not with them
to see. Like, that's one of the points we do mention a lot in our reviews will be like whether or not you really should see it on a larger screen. No,
not at all.
No.
All right. Sorry, damn it.
Not my favorite, not the worst I've seen, but not my favorite.
No, and I went in with high hopes, and they were dashed against the rocks, like I jumped off a cliff into the ocean.
How much money did it even make? Let's see. I'm just curious.
I don't know.
17.
Like I say, he's singing to a very specific choir on this one. I can't see the dollars rolling in. There's a reason it got released in March?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is people saying it flopped? I guess.
I mean, I wouldn't expect much.
19 million domestically.
Oof.
53 million worldwide. The first.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's more than I got.
Well, it probably flopped because it cost like 300 million.
No, it didn't cost that much, but
stupid.
it probably at least cost 100 something. Yeah, at least. What a waste. Anyway,
yo, what's up, fam? It is I, Tatiana King, and I want y'all to know that I need you to do me a favor. Please share this show. You're listening to us, you're watching us, but you're gatekeeping, and I don't understand why you're doing that. I really need you to share with your friends, share with your mama, share with your cousin, share with everybody, because if you're like me, you love to share the joy, and it's really important that you do that. So please tell people about ForAllNerds. I love you.
Also out this week is the finale of season 3 of Invincible. Robert Kirkman's Invincible. what's that joint on? Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
The finale just dropped. I honestly did not know it dropped. I thought it dropped on Friday, like with Severance. I'm always watching it after the fact, so I always thought it was Fridays. It ain't, and it's out now. I've not seen the finale yet. I'm up to the last episode before the finale. I think Tatiana might be one episode behind that.
I'm one episode behind.
So you haven't seen the Invincible War yet. That's what happens in the episode right before this one.
I'm right about to be there.
Yeah, you're right about to be, because that's at the end of it. Angstrom's like, "Go get him," and that starts it off.
Yep. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, well, Invincible War only takes one episode.
I mean, I only got two, so two episodes less. So it's just like wrap the shit up, me like.
Yeah, and in the comics, I think it was like 2 issues. It was not very long either. And then immediately after that, because everybody's seen the finale, is the arrival of Conquest, who is voiced by none other than, what's my man's name? Dean Morgan, who did Nolan. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, right?
Jeffrey, yeah. No, that voice is Nolan? No, that's J.K.
No, plays Nolan.
Oh.
I mean, not Nolan. Not Nolan. What's the Walking Dead Bat?
No, that's Jeffrey Dean Morgan. But
Jeffrey Dean Morgan, yeah. What's his name? Negan. Negan's here.
Negan,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, he voices Conquest. They say he does a great job. He appeared at the end of the last episode, and I was not like, oh, that's the Conquest that I would imagine from the comics. But they say it's one of those things, as the episode goes on, he really gets into it. Conquest is not a very deep character. He is basically there to whoop Invincible's ass like none other. It is one of the bloodiest and
more bloody than fucking Omni-Man beating his own child.
All right, people, the reviews say the episode's like 46 minutes and the fight is 28 minutes of it. It is a massive, and they say the animations are on full tilt. Like, because some of the shit looked cheap in the beginning of this season. They say they saved the money for this fight. In the comic, it's out of control. No, Conquest is, because he's not like his father. He is more, he is just there to kill this dude. It's not about that. So, and he does a lot of shit. There's one of the most trifling moments in the book, and I've already confirmed it happens in the episode. I was really tight about it in the book because they left you on a cliffhanger and you had to wait a month for it. I knew they weren't going to do that just because of how the end of the last season, they have a moment to do that finale when Mark killed Angstrom Levy, and they didn't do that at the end of the season. They went on. So I knew they weren't going to do that because that's how it ended in the book. Mark killing Angstrom Levy, and you think he's trapped on this world, and you have to wait a month for that to, resolve itself. Right. Yeah, but they didn't do that. So I knew they were going to go on. So they went on past that. So the Conquest ship resolves itself in the finale. And, then we're set up for season 4, which I'll just say this. I really enjoyed season 3, and it's really breaking my heart at the same time because they've done better things in expanding some of the characters, and I know where it's going. And it's just so tragic. Like, and they're not avoiding any of the stuff that happens in the comic, and it's all gonna that's why I always tell people about Invincible. Like, this Conquest shit is nothing. It's light work. If you think what happened with Conquest is the most terrible thing you've seen in animation, or
I thought Nolan killing basically his child was the worst.
Light work. Like, Conquest, I can't lie. The cliffhanger point in this episode was one of the first times that the book broke my heart. But then, it's trying to reverse right away. So you're like, all right, cool. But then there is stuff later on that doesn't get reversed that is just no. And it's the way these characters grow and change. And you're already seeing the beginning of it. I was talking to one of my best friends about it. He's like, well, maybe they won't go down that route. And he didn't want me to spoil anything. But I was like, nah, bro, they are going down that route. I've said it before on this show. They're going down the route. And at the end of season 3, they're already, like, Conquest showing up is signaling there's a lot of stuff that's about to happen, right away in season 4. And I would think by the end of season 4, we're going to get to where the book really ruined me. Where I was just like, yo, this shit is, like, damn. Yeah. And then, it gets worse and worse after that for a while. But then it, eventually ends. I love how Invincible tells this story. And if they get to the final end of the book, it's it's one of my favorite comics for a reason. So looking forward to it.
As someone who never read any of the Invincible comics, I've thoroughly been enjoying this animated series from the beginning. And this season, I've been thoroughly enjoying it as well.
I got a question.
Yeah.
How was that Powerplex episode then?
Which one was the Powerplex episode?
The guy with the electrical powers who's trying to get back at Invincible for...
Oh, yeah. That shit was heartbreaking.
Okay. Because in the book, I already knew how it was going down. And watching the episode, I'm like, oh, God, please. Okay, maybe they're not going to do this. Maybe they're not going to do this. You know, because the book fucked me up.
That shit was heartbreaking. And that's why I do, like I said, besides, it's just a lot when it comes to the blood and the gore at times. But the violence, the level of violence can be like arresting for me at times where I'm like, okay, I do need to turn away because I can't.
Yeah.
But like, just even using the whole Powerplex episode as an example, just again, giving you a well-rounded approach, even though these are cartoons, quote, these are cartoons of people, right? And what like a realistic, dirty version of a world with superheroes is really would be like, again, similar to The Boys, where it's just like these heroes are not as good as you think, or they're over there cussing out little kids and they doing this and they doing that, they shooting heroin, whatever they're doing, right? Like they live in a life or for the good or the worse or whatever the case may be. So to see like what drives different people, and I've always thought about that, like the people on the other side of things, like when the Avengers are fighting downtown New York and a building falls and somebody's family gets crushed, what happens to that person who survives? What are they going through mentally? What are they going through physically, emotionally, all that stuff? And Invincible, that's what is really the deepness of it. That's what it's about. The cause and effect of being a superhero, not just about being a superhero. To be honest, the stuff you see in the fights and all that stuff, whether or not it's 20 minutes long, the fights are just the window dressing. The real meat of the story of Invincible is what happens when something happens. What happens to these people? What about the forgotten, right? What about, like as mentioned, the cause and effect of what happens after? Like all those questions that either, get swept under the rug when you watch big TV shows or even big movies, stuff that becomes, quote, collateral damage. They dive into that, into Invincible. And that's why I've always loved this series. And that's why I also, like I had mentioned a few years back, my sister watches this and she's not into comics whatsoever. And the fact that you can get regular people in on this because the heart of humanism, right, is in there. But this shit has just been phenomenal from all aspects. I like seeing your reactions to it, especially how you say how they just expand. And that's how you're supposed to me, do book adaptations, right? Like if you're gonna do it beat for beat, let's expand. And when I say beat for beat, I'm talking about the story, right? You may not change the core of the story, but let's give me more than what the book gave me, right? Yeah.
No, then they give you more and giving you less when they needed to, because there's like Robert Kirkman was definitely a young writer when he was writing this book, and he's writing it all by himself, and he's a young white dude, and so there's a lot of dudeisms in Invincible that they've kind of erased. There's some stuff coming up that I wouldn't even say dudeisms. It's very like that's the other thing about it, especially for him being a young white male and a straight white male at that. He does a lot of stuff that you just don't see in anything. And why one of the things that I wanted to touch on is why I think you love it and why people are approaching it the way they do is because, like your sister, it's because it is like The Walking Dead, where The Walking Dead was the first property to ever be like, what happens after the zombie movie? That's what he always said. That's what it was about. He's like, what happens after the movie is over? Even if you do 3 sequels, what happens after that? I want to tell the continuing story. And that was the first time that had been done in large fiction, at least, especially in a comic book or TV series that we see later, whatever. And Invincible is basically taking the story of Superman and then being like, okay, but what happens if Superman doesn't stop? Like what happens when Superman marries and grows and has kids and, cause and effect, like you said, what are these effects that, if they continue to go on? Because normally, in Superman's story, it's reset every few years because Superman's a major character owned by DC and they're never going to allow his story to end. But Invincible ends, like the book ends. There is a complete ending to it. Robert Kirkman so far has never gone back to it. It's really unnecessary to me for anyone to go back to it because it tells the whole story of Mark Grayson's life. And it's like you could go back and tell stories that happen in between things we haven't seen.
Yes.
But beyond that, there's nothing really more needed to be told. And there's only a couple things that Kirkman left out when even he finished it. I felt like, oh, he dangled that plot line and never got back to it. But it wasn't something I really cared about. It's like some other
Yeah.
And then the one other thing that they're doing so well is like stuff like with Rex Splode, who was one of my favorite characters in the book. I fuck with Rex.
He's growing.
I fuck with him
He's
so tough.
growing.
And then Rex, Rex, he's growing, he's growing. And
he's growing as a person.
Yeah,
literally.
And the shit with him and Ray, like that's expanded from the book. It's like I can't even remember if they dated in the book, but it's definitely expanded from the book. And
yeah.
And so what happens later on, man, it's just God damn it.
It keeps you invested. And at the end of the day, for me, Invincible is a story about consequence. And that is a large concept that is completely ignored by like most of the things you watch. And granted, you don't always have to know about consequence. Sometimes you just want to see two superpowered people just fight. I get it.
Yep.
And sometimes it's really important that you get the backstory about why somebody's doing what they're doing. And that's what this Invincible does. So kudos to them.
Yeah, definitely kudos to them. I didn't like the second season as much, but I think that might have been because of how they split it up. The way
I just didn't like waiting. I was like, this is silly.
And I think that might have lessened the impact, but the way they've been giving this straight, I can't wait for next year for 4. Like I say, it's like they're getting, I'm just saying it one more time. Everything you've seen is still prologue, fam. It's like we're not even getting to where it really gets.
Crazy.
Like, it's characters that haven't even been introduced yet who you're gonna fucking hate. And it's characters you love right now who you're gonna hate. And it's characters you hate right now who you're gonna love. It's just so wild. I mean, it's so funny watching people watch the show because, like you said, everyone when Nolan went crazy on Mark, they're like, "Oh my god, the memes."
That was the worst thing I've fucking seen in my life.
And I'm sitting there laughing my ass off, like, "Yo, that shit was in the first 6 issues, man. That shit was so minor in the longer, like."
Which is insane. And that's what I'm saying. And the levels, like, just to tell me something like that was minor, I said,
minor.
What's next? Is Galactus gonna come out? Like, what's next?
Like the Invincible War just happened, and like I say, that takes one thing. Goddamn, David, I forgot about Dinosaur. I can't remember Dinosaurus. I can't remember this. There's so much to come.
And there's and also it's not just all. This is my last point about Invincible. It's not just all serious and about the deftness of human spirit. Like, no, sometimes this shit is just silly and funny. But it's balanced. Like it tells a whole story. It's a person that happens to be a superhero that is trying to live a life as a teenager or a young adult at this point, and what happens. So
and I will, and like I say, there's a lot of dudisms, but I will actually give them credit. I think they've handled Mark and Eve's relationship even better than the comics. There's a lot of stuff coming with that I'm gonna see how they do or if they incorporate it, because some of it is to be weird. It might go over well, it might not. It depends on how they do it. But I think their relationship in general is one of my favorite from comics, and I love Mark and Eve, and Eve especially. I just love where she goes and what happens to her, and yeah, man, can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Before we go, Ben, I mean, you're gonna be attending some events soon.
Oh yes, that's right. Well, that's right. Next week, March 22nd and March 23rd, I will be down in the DMV area. First, I'll be up in Philadelphia, March 22nd, and that afternoon, I'll be at Multiversity Philly, local comic shop down there. They're hosting me while I'll be doing a signing of Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze, the best-selling graphic novel from me and Mello Brown and Tom Mandrake and Justin Prokowicz, Titan Comics and the Hendrix Estate and all of that. So come through if you're in the Philly area, get your book signed, holler at me. We'll be talking all about it, everything. And, it's a really dope store, Multiversity. I can't wait to check it out and support. So then after that, I'll be headed right down to DC on the 23rd, that Sunday, and I'll be at Phantom Comics that Sunday alongside my brother Julian Lytle, and we will be doing a whole ass, interview, talk, discussion about Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze, and I'll also be doing a signing there as well. So shout out to everybody in DC, HU, and everybody else in the DMV. Please come out and see me March 23rd. That's next Sunday. So I will be in the place to be March 22nd and 23rd. Traveling, I'm down there doing my thing. So holler at me if you're in the area, and come through.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate everybody listening to For All Nerds. Make sure, as always, you please continue to support us by watching. Watching is the best thing you can do, as well as sharing with your friends, sharing with your family, everything that you could think of, because we are an independently funded, independently owned, independently ran media brand. We do coverage from all facets of entertainment and fandom, geek culture, everything you could think of. It's really important that you tell people about this, because I feel like some people are gatekeeping. I know that also a lot of people always talk about, oh man, I just wish some Black people would just talk about this, or talk about my favorite show. We're here, we've been here. So we want to make sure that y'all are telling other people too, so they can be part of the fan fam. And speaking of the fan fam, shout out to our fan fam in Patreon. We are going to be giving you going forward at least one new episode every single month. And again, making sure that we get you guys access to screenings or other things. We're going to be banging on all of these publishers' door and saying, hey, give us some free shit so we can give to our patrons. So go to patreon.com/ForAllNerds. Every tier is a good tier. You can be part of the team that helps us run For All Nerds. And also, you can ask us questions directly. We'd be happy to talk to you. Also, make sure you're doing the other thing, which is going to ForAllNerds.com and getting you a cool t-shirt like the one I'm wearing and the one Benhameen is wearing. It's the same shirt, but it's just different colors. This is our, what is the Wakanda Royal Family shirt, right?
Yes.
Again, just go to ForAllNerds.com, cop you a dope tee. Every time you support us in that way, as mentioned, Patreon, following, subscribing, buying merch on our site, you are supporting this enterprise directly, okay? And you're making sure that we are the best and we go above and beyond. So thank you so very much. And as always, make sure you're following us For All Nerds, ForAllNerds. We are everywhere. Just Google that. We are on everything, every podcast platform, every network, every social media. We are there. You can follow us individually as well. I'm Tatiana King. He's DJ Benhameen. And that's it. Again, thank you everybody so much for listening. Please enjoy yourself, enjoy your time, enjoy your life, and stay positive.
Hey y'all, thank you for watching this For All Nerds video, whatever video it was that you just watched. Make sure you hit these buttons below. Press all those buttons, that like, that subscribe, whatever you see right below these fingertips right here. Just hit them, hit them, hit them. For All Nerds Show is a member of the Loudspeakers Network, where we always say rest in peace to our founder, Combat Jack.
For All Nerds Show is powered by our listeners. Everything we do, from our podcasts, live events, our website, are all independently funded. Please continue to support us through our Patreon page at patreon.com/ForAllNerds.